Hey, and welcome to Wild Seat. In this mess of a movie, which takes place in the year 2067, climate change has left the world screwed up like a goat, with hardly any plants and oxygen in the ground. People have to buy fake oxygen to avoid dying, but it turns out that this oxygen causes a nasty disease called the disease. Humanity is about to go to the dogs. Our colleague Ethan, who lives in a city where things are not so bad, works hard at Chronocorp, the company that makes that oxygen, to support his wife Xanthi, who is sick. One day the boss of the company, Regina, tells Ethan that he's the only hope to save humanity. What a crock of shit. It turns out that Ethan's father, Dr. Richard White, had built a time machine called the Chronicle. And by sending radio waves into the future, they discovered that in the year 2474, everything would be different, and there would be a solution to all problems. But the radio waves came back with an encrypted message saying, "Send Ethan White." So now they want Ethan to go to the future to bring the cure. Ethan doesn't believe it, and suspects Regina is feeding him a tall tale. Also, Ethan doesn't want to leave his wife Xanthi to go to the future, so he tells those wackos, no way. Later, Ethan and his buddy Jude are in a coffee shop, catching some fresh oxygen, and Jude gives him a hard time about accepting the mission and saving everyone. Ethan doesn't buy it because he remembers that his father left them stranded, but Jude eventually convinces him by telling him that the only way to save Xanthi is to find the cure. Ethan remembers when he turned 8, and his dad gave him a weird box with a gizmo that was attached to his wrist that he still wears. Back home, he tells Xanthi about the racket, and she also encourages him to go. The next morning, Ethan leaves a metal flower with a message for Xanthi and plants himself in Regina's office. They agree that if he finds a cure, Xanthi will be the first to get the bargain. In the lab, Dr. Mitchell shows her the suit she has to wear to get into the time machine. Although they have no idea what's going to happen, they give him an artificial intelligence gizmo named Archie, which will monitor how Ethan is doing and where he stops. Ethan gets into the machine and jumps into the future at full speed. He lands in a jungle that not even his mother knows, his suit burning from the friction of the air, and he takes it off quickly. Freaking out about how cool nature is, he realizes that the world has changed a lot, with real trees and oxygen. Following Archie's directions, he finds a bunker door and a skeleton with a bullet hole in its head. He freaks out when he sees his own name on the skeleton's plaque. The skeleton is him. He also finds another Archie next to the skeleton and hits play to hear the latest recording. Ethan hears a guy say, "There's no other choice," and bam, he shoots the Ethan of the future. Just then, the thing runs out of battery. Shocked, Ethan thinks that will be the end of him. Then he sees the gizmo on the skeleton's wrist, just like his own, but with a little green light instead of the red one he's been wearing all his life. That night, he lights a fire and stuffs some berries between his chest and back that turn out to be poisonous. Ethan poops and starts stargazing, but then wakes up hallucinating to see Jude standing in front of him. It turns out that the lab realized Ethan was having a fit and thought he had poisoned himself, so they sent Jude to the future with the antidote to save his skin. After a while, Ethan and Jude see that the skeleton is still there, indicating that their fate has not changed. With Archie's help, they find another door. A retinal scanner lets them pass Ethan, and as they enter, a monitor greets them. It asks for a DNA sample, and upon accepting it, Ethan's wrist gossip activates and bleeds. After the blood test, the light on his device turns green. The lights in the room come on, and they realize they are in the Chronocorp lab, 407 years in the future. The time machine is there too, staring them in the face. Jude's heart skips a beat when he learns that they can travel back in time, but Ethan is not the least bit thrilled, saying that nothing has changed and that, in the end, he's going to get screwed too. Reviewing the system's log, Ethan discovers a holographic message from his big boss, his father, who explains that the time machine was created to get information about oxygen from the future and send it to the past. Although he had his doubts, his father complied by sending his little boy to the future and implemented a DNA verification for Ethan. Suddenly, Ethan and Jude realize that the time machine cannot take them back, because its battery is about to die after 407 years. In addition, The activation of the lab causes a nuclear power core meltdown, which could cause an explosion in 4 hours. They need to find a way to fix the machine and get back to the past before everything explodes. On their way out, they find a pretty fucked up city, overrun by vegetation, with human skeletons everywhere, suggesting that Earth started to recover after humanity vanished. Ethan visits his old lady's house and finds her remains, which leaves him pretty bummed. Jude tries to convince Ethan to go back to the past, because it seems that the cure doesn't even exist in the future. But Ethan is suspicious of Jude, and when he turns on Archie, who is already fucked up from the rust, he hears his brother's voice and realizes that it was him who put a hit on him. Jude denies the accusations while pointing a gun at Ethan. If you're enjoying the video, please hit the like button. It only takes a second and helps me out a ton. But they decide to finish the mission before they come to blows. Together, they manage to repair the power core and return to the lab. The chrono system is ready to take them back in time. They just have to hold on for 37 minutes. When the countdown reaches 0, the portal will connect them to the year 2067 for 30 seconds. But Ethan finds his own bones in place, indicating that nothing has changed. To discover the truth, Ethan swaps his current Archie's battery for the screwed-up one and accesses another video showing that Jude is going to take out his future self. Jude confesses that there's no hope of changing the future and that he's just looking to watch Ethan's back. In disbelief, Ethan locks Jude in a room and plays back his boss's holographic record of the day he was taken out. Thus, he discovers a conversation between Regina Jackson, Chronocorp's tech chick, and his father. The talk reveals that Ethan's father wanted to use the time machine to save humanity by finding the cure, but the tech chick only planned to use it to escape with a privileged few from the time that's going to hell. But no matter what plan they choose, someone must go to the future and turn on the time machine, because it takes a cool connection on both ends to send living flesh safely through time. To thwart the CTO and her scroll, Ethan's father locks the time machine and sets Ethan's DNA as a means of verification. Pissed off, the CTO takes out Ethan's father. She then orders Jude to kill Ethan's mother and become his bodyguard, so that one day they can use Ethan's bracelet to access the future. Ethan is stunned to discover that the guy he thought was his brother was the one who put a hit out on his mother, and now plans to do the same to him. He also realizes that his father didn't abandon his family on purpose. Upon learning that Regina wants to take a select few into the future, Ethan tries to turn off the time machine, but Jude rushes in to stop him. Jude reveals that the CTO sent him to make sure Ethan was sent in time to fix the power failure. After turning on the time machine, Jude is supposed to kill Ethan. However, Jude has developed a strong relationship with Ethan over time. Racked with guilt at seeing his comrade almost like a brother in such a situation, Jude decides to shoot himself instead of Ethan. Filled with rage and remorse, Ethan decides to fulfill his boss's dying wish: to find the cure and save those who are dying. Ethan looks at the screen and finds the first message his boss sent. He deduces that he himself sent the message, "Send to Ethan White." So he sends it again, along with many other things. Meanwhile, back at the lab in 2067, the tech whiz and her gang of privileged people are anxiously awaiting the activation of the time machine. To their surprise, the machine sends hundreds of extinct plants and a recording of Ethan's father's murder into the past. Shortly thereafter, Ethan destroys the time machine, foiling the tech whiz's plan. In the end, Regina is arrested for the murder. The plants Ethan sends to 2067 are grown to revive the planet. Ethan's wife receives a flower he sends and understands his decision. Although Ethan has to stay alone in the future world, he forgives Jude and buries him. A butterfly catches his attention and guides him back to the entrance, where Ethan is happy to see that the body of his other self is gone. He runs to the outside world and is relieved to see a futuristic, green-filled city, in contrast to the desolation of before. His choice changed the fate of humanity, but the adventure doesn't end here. I'll see you in the next one. Let's go.